Hey onesies, Josh Williams here, and thanks for checking out this week's episode of the One Man Podcast. It's always free and available on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, and many more, as well as on the web at onemanpodcast.com. So please, whatever platform you're listening on, like and subscribe. While you're at it, give it a rating, leave a review. Why? Because it helps the podcast, and I'd really appreciate it. How about that? What about social media? Search One Man Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube to keep up with what's going on there. Get a little extra content for yourself. And finally, to get in touch, please send your emails to contact@onemanpodcast.com. You send it, I read it on the podcast. That's the deal. Thanks for listening, guys, and I hope you enjoy this week's episode.
Hey, it's Paul Meyerhog from the Comedy Network and Comedy Central. You're listening to the One Man Podcast.
Yeah!
Hey, it's Josh Williams, and welcome to the One Man Podcast, episode number 119 for Wednesday, August 21st, 2019. How's it going, onesies? How you guys doing? You having a great week so far? You enjoying the approach of the back-to-school season if you have kiddos, or maybe just, the calendar, you see August, and you see that we're nearing the end, and you go, got that gloomy feeling. Well, for those of you who are concerned about that, theoretically speaking, summer goes well into September. Last day of summer is well into September. So, you got time left. I just got home from Toronto. I've been home for less than 24 hours, and I am happy to be home. Of course, recording this on Tuesday. And I have lots to talk about, guys. I'd love for this to be a short episode because I have so much unpacking and renormalizing to do, but, there's lots to talk about, so we'll see how it goes. Buckle up. It's going to be a fun one. We've got I'm talking about all sorts of fun stuff. I hung out with some friends. I went on a trip to see more. Last episode, I was talking with my friend Vanessa. I was at her house in London. And so, of course, after that episode, we had some fun, said our goodbyes. And then the next day, I went to, do my show and then left for the Niagara region. I did a ton of shows, saw some friends. What else happened? There's a lot. So buckle up and we'll talk about a bunch of different things. But getting started, I am doing my, I'm still in the process of my aligners in my face, and they're feeling very weird, just today and just since I put them back in after breakfast. So I don't know if my teeth are just renormalizing, but it feels like they're in the way of something today. I don't know what's going on. So I was doing shows and I could see little bits of, I switched them over mid-trip to Toronto. So on the Sunday, I went from one set to the next set, and I could see with this most recent set when I was still speaking, little flicks of spittle coming out of my mouth. And it was just because the spotlights are on me, right? So just like when you see the little bits of, little flecks of dust when the sun's coming in at a certain angle in your windows, you can just see little flecks of dust every now and again floating around. My mom used to call them sunbeans with an N, like cool beans. And it was like, oh, what's that? Oh, it's sunbeams. Sunbeans. Wow. But it's dust. It's dust in the air. I don't know if you fancy people with maids are like, oh, we've never seen those. Well, you know what? You missed out on something, a little bit of flavor of life when it comes to that shit. But yeah, that's the kind of thing. It's basically the kind of thing I don't think anyone could see, but it was right in front of my face and the spotlights were there. I'm like, I could see it. And, it makes you self-conscious on stage. I remember I originally decided I was going to do this because every now and again I would say something and I would hit a hard S and there'd be this whistle sound that would come out of it. And I figured it was just because of the way my two front teeth had sort of been crooked. Maybe the air was passing through them weird, but you know what? For the first time since I started this process, my teeth are almost done. They're much, much straighter. And, I actually was talking and I heard a little whistle. It wasn't like one of the crazy loud ones I've had, but I heard a little whistle and I was like, you know what? If I did all this and that shit still happens, yeah, that would suck big time. Cause, I don't even have a problem with it. I can joke my way out of an awkward situation, but the problem is that you're telling a joke and you're building up and you got momentum going and then you go to say something and just a big whistle happens. People either think that you meant to do it and they don't get why that's in the joke, or it completely derails the momentum. You got to stop and you can't just not address it like it didn't happen because everyone's like, what was the whistle thing for? So yeah, if that still happens when this is all over, I quit. I quit comedy. Sorry to keep whacking away here. I've got my highlighter in my head. I got a big list of stuff that we're going to talk about this week. All right, so let's just get right into it, okay? I had a great time with Red. Her husband John and I, and her, of course, we played an escape room in a box that I had brought after the recording. Great time. Had a great night with. Jesus, got the hiccups now. Is there anything? All these bodily problems when I'm trying to communicate with the world. Whistling through my teeth, hiccups. It's probably because I haven't really spoke all day, and now I'm just go. Who knows? I'm not a biologist. I don't know. So we had a great time. Got up the next day and basically just had a quick breakfast with them before I hit the road back to Toronto. And it was funny. The little dude her little fella Ronan, he's so adorable. It was really, really cool seeing him, saying, giving high fives and things like that. And then later in the week, or I think it was the next day, she sent me a video message from him where he's just like, I had fun with Josh. Yeah, adorable. I probably watched that video like 20 times. It's just cool. Like he was a cool kid. So, it's nice. It's nice to see the little dude had a fun time with me. Yeah, what a great time. And thank you again, Red, to have hosted me and to have been so hospitable. It was great seeing you. It was great seeing the whole family, and I look forward to doing it again. Then I went back to Toronto. I think I spent the morning. I made a mistake with internet hours. So I'm driving back from London, and on the far side of Toronto is a board game store I go to. I read on the internet that they were open at 11. And I was like, oh, well, based on my trajectory leaving early morning London, I'm like, oh, I'm going to get back at like 10:30. I'm like, you know what? I know that there's an A&W right next door. I'm like, maybe I can go grab a quick breakfast there. I'll kill that half an hour and then I'll go do some board game shopping. Well, when I got there, I found out I'd read their downtown location's hours, not their hours. And it opened at noon. So I was basically killing an hour and a half, waiting for that board game store to open. You'd think I'd just go back to Gunno. No, I have serious money to burn. I mean, I have room on my credit card to fill, but, no, I actually ended up using the time. This is not a very interesting story, but I'm just telling you, like when you're in Toronto and you got nothing to do during the day, I'm like, I gotta kill some time here. And I'm also around these stores that, have particularly good prices on board games. And, they're the ones I order from here in Ottawa. So I'm like, you know what? I love going into this nerdy place, looking around, seeing all the things that I can't see on the web. Because when you're on the web, you got to look specifically, right? There's something nice. It's like going to a bookstore. There you go. For anyone who can't understand my enjoyment of board games and like, what the fuck? There's something about going to a bookstore and just walking up and down the aisles and seeing something that you wouldn't have seen otherwise. You know what I mean? At least for an extrovert. I know introverts want to stay on the web and just be like, well, I'm going to look for what I'm looking for, and then I can buy it, and it comes to my door, and I never have to look anyone in the eyes. I can just be safe in my house. I don't have anything against introverts. It's just a different way of working. I don't work that way. I want to see things. So, sorry guys, I'm going to be drinking a lot today, but I won't do that AMFR shit where guys, can you hear me drinking? Can you hear my lips smacking? Peter was telling me to do that. I don't know if I mentioned that, but Pete likes some of the videos of that, but it's different stuff, right? Sometimes people will slurp noodles. Sometimes people will, I don't even know if I got the acronym. I know it's like AMFR or something, or SR. There you go. I was confident that I had the letters right, but maybe not in the right order. Now I don't. So whatever. The point is that there's like sound videos where you listen to people and they're making sounds and you're like, oh, it's interesting. It's, I think Red and I talked about this last week. Anyways, point being is there's different kinds of videos and different people like different things. So I'm trying not to do that with my mouth this week, guys. Just trying to, be a good bitch and keep myself back from Mike. Having wandered off verbally from my point, I spent that hour and a half killing time because I wanted to browse that goddamn board game store. I was not going to drive back. Plus I was exhausted. So I knew I wouldn't have done anything else that day. So what I ended up doing with my time was I edited the podcast episode, and by edit I just mean doing the post production. So I mixed it down. I'm sitting in A&W with my laptop out, my recorder, all this stuff. Thank God no one else was around. It would have looked like so stupid. But and I'm very, very insecure about what other people in A&W think of me. But yeah, so I did that, and then they opened up. I wandered around. I got my hands on a copy of Chinatown, which is a board game that I played with my brother a long time ago, and I wanted to get, but it's been sold out everywhere, and I think it was even out of print. They make like limited little print runs of it, so I managed to get my hands on that. Very, very happy with that, and I bought some other shit. But anyways, good time overall. I had, I've actually gone a few times this last week here to board game stores. Like I probably visited, let's see, one, I went to Board Game List 3 times. I went to the Vaughan 401 games twice, the downtown location once, and Meeple Mart. So there's free plugs for them, and I won't tell you which one's my favorite or anything like that. But those I think I'd heard of Meeple Mart before. I didn't realize it was in Toronto. I'd never been before. I didn't love it. Nothing against them. It's just 401 and Board Game Bliss have the better prices. And I like going to their location and browsing around. So I enjoyed myself. It was funny too. So I'm going to get off the subject of board games, but I may as well lump it all together so I don't keep going back to that. So I made several trips, got different things. My bed right now is covered in board game garbage, and I can't wait to finish this podcast because I am going to nerd the fuck out for the rest of the day, putting cards in sleeves and building box organizers. Anyone who knows what that is, that's all I need to say on it. But my host this week, Ephthimios Nasiopoulos, that is not a Harry Potter spell. That is my buddy. He is originally from Toronto and now lives in Vancouver. He was hosting all week, and we decided to go out on Saturday morning for breakfast at a place that I went to with Paul Verzi and Pete Johansson back in 2016 called Chadwick's. Now, the last time I went, we got a table. We got in nice and quick. Everything was good. Ephthimios and I had to wait for like 40 minutes. They had probably 40 minutes is fair. They quoted us 15 minutes. If they had told us it would be 40, we may have gone elsewhere. And then the breakfast overall was not bad. It was not bad, but it's actually, the breakfast there is quite good, but for the wait and then the price and then the way they kind of it was cramped, close quarters. I remember it being much better last time than it was this time. So not horrible. Just whatever. Anyways, we're having breakfast, and he mentions to me that he needs to find like a Toys R Us or whatever because his nephews are having a birthday party the next day. And I told him, well, I'd be considered board games, and he's like, not really. Like he's like, I don't know if they're too young. I go, there's a store not far away from here that I kind of wanted to check out today, anyways. And if you weren't interested, I would have driven you home and then gone to it, but. I go, if you need to get a gift, this saves you a trip to a Toys R Us, and you might actually find some shit that they can do with the family instead of just, like a Lego set by themselves or some shit. I don't know. But he was like, yeah, I'll check it out. So we went there, and he was blown away by all the different kinds of games and all the stuff going on and sort of like the little geeky culture. And they had games downstairs that you could play. So him and I were... I was like, you want to play one of these things? Like, sure. Yeah. And we played it. It was like, that's fucking awesome. Like he really enjoyed it. And he actually ended up buying some gifts for his little cousins or nephews, I should say. And then actually bought something for his brother as well. A recommendation from Chris, the very first board game recommendation email that Chris had sent in. He bought the Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective for his brother. And then he told me when he gave it to his brother, he was like, I don't think this guy's going to fucking wait for me to do it with him. I think he was like, I got a gift from my brother and I get to do it too. So 2 birds, 1 stone. But, and then he's like, I don't think he's going to wait for me. I might have to buy my own copy. It was funny. He blew like $150 in a board game store. I'm like, yeah, that's average. That's average. But, yeah, he had a good time. And he was like, he's like, I can't fucking believe it. He's like, I thought board games. Now, to put this in context, a lot of comics are like fat, bearded, nerdy dudes, right? Or at least look like they could be into the shit. Ephthimios is a tall, good-looking Greek dude, who most of the week prior to us going out was like getting up early in the morning. Now he was visiting friends and family because he used to be in Toronto anyways. Right now he's in Vancouver, but he was also getting up and like doing like, what was it? I think Krav Maga and like Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I stuttered because I don't think it was jiu-jitsu that he was doing, but he was basically doing martial arts, like going and doing some training. So I think the Krav Maga or whatever. I don't think jujitsu, but I think he was doing something else, like another, like not Taibo, because that's not even a thing. And not Taekwondo either. I don't know. I can't remember what the fuck it was, but it was one of the popular martial arts or whatever now. Point being is he's a dude who's in shape, and he was just like, I can't. He's like, oh, I thought board games were fucking lame. I'm like, look, I know I look like a guy who should be into board games. I'm like, but if you told me 2 years ago I'd be interested, I'd tell you you're crazy. Because I thought they were all like Sorry and Monopoly. And anyone who listens to this podcast who has heard me over and over and over talk about board games, I'm bringing it up to say that, like, I thought board games were Monopoly and Sorry and Snakes and Ladders. I've probably said this before, but for any new listeners, if you hear me talk about it, you're like, what the fuck is with this guy? Listen, I've got a lot of people in my life who were all into board games. I had no idea I knew my brother and I knew Chris were, but I didn't think that, I had a lot of friends who were like, had like a board game stash in the drawer. And I was like, I didn't know you guys were into board games. And they're like, yeah, it's super fun. So I tried one, Chris sent an email recommending them. I tried one at, my buddy Mika's place. I later went to Chris's place and tried a few, and I was like, oh shit, this stuff's fun. And then I start by buying one for myself, so I had something around. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's fun. And then the next thing you know, I've got this gigantic collection, and I've lost my mind entirely, but that's what I do with things. But for anyone who's like, why is this a thing? It is. Everyone's perception, including my own, was that like board games are like the Parker Brothers bullshit and the Hasbro, like Monopoly, Sorry, Connect Four, like all these games that are there's really not a lot to them. They take up a lot of space. There's not a lot to them. In fact, like I'm like, Snakes and Ladders, you can play a 4-player game by yourself because all you do is roll a dice and then do what the dice says. You have no choice. You have no influence on the game. So you can be like, I'm rolling for blue. I'm rolling for yellow. I'm rolling for green. I'm rolling for red. And then you keep doing that. You're like, red 1. Well, that's 2 hours. I don't think it's that long, but that's time I'm never getting back. Well, the new board games, there's a lot more to them. And I have been thoroughly sucked in by the amount of fun they are. So it was funny because after we had left the store, he was like, holy fuck, that was fucking fun. And he was going to meet another comedian who was in town to visit it. Denis Grignon, great dude, lives in Lindsay, Ontario. And we noticed walking back from the condo. Now I knew this place was there, but again, hanging out with my tall Greek buddy, I'm not gonna be like, hey, you want to go to this nerdy board game cafe around the corner from the condo? Right? I wasn't thinking it. I was just like, yeah, I just like, that's not his thing. And I'm not going to invite him to do something like that. We were walking home from the condo actually the night before, and he sees the place. He's like, oh, snakes and lattes. I wonder what that's about. I'm like, it's like a board game cafe or whatever. It's kind of cool. He's like, oh, and just that was it. So after we had been to the store and we had played some board games, he had purchased some board games. He's like, yeah, I wonder if instead of meeting at the restaurant, maybe he wants to meet us at the Snakes and Lattes place and we could play another game. We played Splendor, and he's like, yeah, maybe we could play that. So it was funny. We met our friend there, had a drink with him, and then we played another game of Splendor, and he was like thoroughly into that, which was great. So that was fun. It was kind of fun to hang out with my buddy and actually be like, oh, well, here's one of my nerdy hobbies I kind of do when I'm trying. I was like, yeah, that was great. He loved it. So, fun. What else, guys? Into this way, I'm just trying to bang through the stuff that I'm doing. I've been, the shows that we did, I'm going to be honest, this last week, they were up and down. We didn't have huge crowds. We didn't have like super small ones, but we didn't have huge crowds. There were some of the shows were absolutely fantastic. And then there was a couple, maybe 2, even 3 last week where the crowds were just weird. And the shows were work. I'm not going to be like, oh man, here's the thing. Like for example, Saturday early show, unbelievable. Absolutely demolished, just destroyed. Great fucking time. Had a great show. Just you could do no wrong. They were loving us all. We were just touring. And then Saturday late show, we all worked. And every fucking comic just was like, we were all coming off stage like, what the fuck was that? The crowds weren't booing. They weren't heckling. They just weren't laughing. They're sitting there smiling at you. It's like fucking Invasion of the Body Snatchers or the Stepford Wives. They're just like these weird fucking smiles and their heads tilted. And you're like, holy fuck. But it's like we thrive off your energy. So if you're going to just give us a smile, it's tough. It's fucking tough to tough to gauge whether we're doing well or not, because if you're smiling the same way at the setups as you are at the punchlines, it's hard. But okay, well, here's another joke, you know? I'm sorry, I'm going to blow out your ears if you guys are in headphones, but I remember years ago, probably my first year of stand-up comedy, I went to do the show in Montreal. There was like 11 people in the crowd. There was a lot of good comics in the show, and there was even 2 phenomenal headliners. I believe David Pride and Scott Falconbridge, but I know Scott Falconbridge was there for sure, because Scott Falconbridge was on the show at the end, and he'd do a joke, and this crowd was just staring. And he like literally said, well, here's another joke for you to stare at. And he wasn't having a good time, but, and not to out him or whatever, but I remember it was just like, after he was done his set, he goes, you know what? He goes, this was an open mic room. This is where comics come to test out new material. And I just want to tell you guys that you have helped them in no way whatsoever. He's like, you're probably one of the worst comedy audiences I've ever been in front of in all my years. He's like, I'm not trying to insult you, but just, you come to a show to laugh, and you guys are just staring at everything. You're not, there's no emotion. You're like, it was just funny. It was just funny. And you know what? And he was right. Like, but here's the thing. There's like a handful of times, like I'm not the kind of comic, like if I don't do well, I'm not going to go, nah, that's the crowd's fault. I'm like, sometimes I know that I'm less energy, or I'm not in the right headspace, or I'm tired and I kind of phone it in. The podcast is like that sometimes too. But, yeah, I feel like this is more like a radio show than a comedy show. I'm not really making it that funny, but, there you go. That's the internal monologue of insecurity. I'm like, nah, I'm just kind of telling stories, but, the shows this week, the ones that were bad, my thing is, if you're doing poorly, but every other comic on the show is doing well, then it's you, because you're the only one that's not doing well. But when like every comic goes up and they're funny and they're doing well, and it's just like, I'm like, well, that's the crowd. Because these people are funny. Everyone on the show is doing well, and just everyone's kind of like, and nobody bombed. It was just so hard to get anything out of them for each one of us. So it was kind of like, and it was up and down. It'd be like a good show, hard show, good show, hard show, good show, hard show. So you didn't know what the fuck you were getting. It kind of, whatever. I had fun. I had some buddies come out. Max came out. My buddy Daniel came out, and they actually ended up sitting together for the show, which was great. Had a great time catching up with those guys. It was great seeing them. Max is doing really well for himself in Toronto. My buddy Daniel has been in Toronto for a long time. Actually came to see me a while back when I was in Toronto. So it was good catching up with him and getting an opportunity to see him and see how he's doing. Very funny dude. Been trying to encourage him to try stand up, especially when he's in a city where it's the easiest city in Canada to do it in. So funny people should be doing that. It was, like I said, we also, don't want to go on too long about it, but I'm definitely going to, hoping that Danny tries it out. And I want to, I told him if he's looking to try out, and I'll be as much use to him as I can in terms of, helping him with joke structure, and at the same time, where to go to get spots and stuff like that. Another great group of people. There was one show that I did where, there was some friends they're all friends from school, whatever. And, they're in varying, like very younger, right? Their early 20s. And, they're working on like a show, a comedy show about a campus and things like that. I won't give anything away. They're still working on it, but it was kind of cool listening to their ideas. Like I chatted with them after the show. They were great. They came up, they said hi. I was like, well, let's fucking grab a drink. So their names, Marius, Ashley, and Nicole. It was very cool hanging out with them on, I believe it was Friday night. We ended up chatting for a while up front. There was a super drunk group of chicks that came in. They sat down with us after the show as well. Sort of, we were sitting down, the 4 of us. E joined us as well, and then these drunk chicks who were at the show came back and sat down. Holy fuck, were they drunk and annoying and everything. Perfect example of like the Bachelorette shit that I've talked about before, but drunk and, need to yell something out. And I dealt with them. Don't you fucking worry. All right. Any of you drunk bachelorettes, to be listening to the podcast, just know you come to one of my shows, you think you're going to handle me, I will deal with you. But I won the rest of the crowd over with how I handled these drunk chicks. They were not a bachelorette party. They were just white girl wasted on a Friday night. So had a great time chatting with the original 3, Marius, Ashley, and Nicole. And just getting to know them, getting to know what they're working in. They were all in different sort of fields and working on different shit, but all very like conscious. I don't know, like what's the word for it? I don't want to say ethical. I think one of them was like going to argue on behalf of like indigenous people, like a $500 like arguing for $500 million grant for housing for that. I was like, holy shit. And someone else was like, I want to work on ethically sourced. I can't remember because it was late, and I also am not good with big words, but they were young people, and they're like, yeah, we finished university. They're like, we want to write this comedy show about campuses, and it had like a dark tone, which was funny. And then they're like, and then, yeah, we have this ethical. I'm like, it's good for these kids, man. And I'm sorry to call you guys kids if you're listening, but I just thought it was great. It was cool to meet them. We went to a bar afterwards and just had another drink, sort of, Absolute was closing down. So a great time overall Friday night with them. I thoroughly enjoyed spending the time. I got a weird bite this week on my stomach, and it's like right down by my waistline. I remember like one night I came home and I felt this like sort of little bit of like a pain, and I was like, what is that? And I was like, oh, and I looked down at my stomach. I look in the mirror at my stomach, and I see this like little red, like, well, pretty red, circle, but the size of a dime, but like very red, like blood red. I'm like, oh shit, I must have irritated something or got like a little bite or something like that. The next day, this thing was, the circumference, there's not a lot to say it with, but it was the size. It looked like someone had done that cupping thing to me. You know what I mean? Like a suction cup. It was the circumference of like a tangerine. It was huge. The whole thing was blood red. And I would say my flesh, and this is not an exaggeration, not at all. It had probably about 4 to 5 inches circumference around, that's the circumference. No. Diameter. Radius, whatever, from 4 inch to 5 inch radius from this thing was all pink skin. So like I had my regular flesh tone. So let's put it this way, like half of the surface area of my stomach was red. And then this giant red fucking whatever it is, coming out. And I'm still, it's funny too. I spoke with my friend Jess yesterday and she's like, well, if there's any, like, you're fine as long as there's no leaking. She'd use a different term, and I was like, oh, what's that? And she's like, well, it's like, if it's like a clear liquid coming out of it, which it didn't yesterday, but today it does. Sorry to be gross, but it's something I'm living with right now. I didn't have anything. I was in Toronto, right? So I have hydrocortisone cream and shit at home, but I wasn't expecting to get snacked on by something in the middle of the night. But all I know is whatever it was, my body is reacting like crazy to it. So anyways, this thing's fucking weird. I didn't have anything to lance it with or, figure it out. So I'm home now. This weird thing on my stomach that is now still very large. It hasn't grown any bigger. In fact, I put hydrocortisone cream on it yesterday. It's getting a little better, but I'll tell you this, I have like a ripped up laundry day white shirt, and, it started, whatever's in it is starting to come out. And, sorry guys, I'm so sorry that this is gross, but it looks like a crime scene. There is blood all over that part of my shirt. And that's why I'm wearing, it's funny because Jason and Al were making fun of me. He's like, oh, nice shirt, Josh. They didn't see any of the stuff on it. But I was sitting at the table, so they just saw the top part has got like a couple little rips and holes in it. And then at the end of the night, I showed my mom and Jessica. This was last night. And I showed them, and I was like, hey, just a heads up. I wouldn't normally dress like a piece of shit, to have you over, but, I've got something that I showed them, like, holy fucking, that's when Jessica started talking to me about it and what she thought, blah, blah, blah. But, it was fucked up. It was really fucked up. And it's, like I said, the shit coming out. I was like, I don't want to put on a shirt because I had cream on it, right? So I'm like, well, I don't want to put a shirt on, and then it's got, getting all this cream and shit on that. So I'm like, I'm just wearing something kind of, that I don't give a fuck about. And then it started leaking stuff, and now it's gross. Yeah, sorry. But I'll be putting this t-shirt up for sale on the one. No, I'm kidding. There's always something wrong with me, guys. Always some fucking body issue or whatever. Whistling teeth, oozing stomach. Oh, that's so gross. I'm so sorry. But yeah, I don't remember what night it happened. All I know is I found the bite on me, and then it was way worse the next day. So probably within a 2-day period, and it's still huge. I have no idea what it is. It's disgusting. I'm not going to put any pictures or anything, but it's just, I don't know what the fuck it is. I do not know what the fuck it is. So more on that as it develops. I was, yeah, tell you what, I'm going to tell you guys about my trip to Niagara because I don't want my buddy to Cam to think, that I forgot about him. I did not. I just wanted to give it its proper due and not feel like I had to rush through it. So on Tuesday night after the shows, okay, so this is basically the night before you guys received last week's episode. I did the show in Toronto, and then I hopped in my car and I drove to St. Catharines. I believe St. David's is the area that they're actually in, but and sorry, Cam, not to put too specific a point on it. His exact addresses, but no, I drove to the St. Catharines area and hung out with Cam and his lovely lady April. And the plan was going to be I was going to drive down on Wednesday. But we got to chatting, and it was like, you know what? If I come Tuesday night after the show, because it's about 2 hours, a little under 2 hours away, I was like, well, if I come right after the show, then we can hang out that night, maybe have some drinks, and then we wake up in the day and we've got the whole day to ourselves, you know what I mean? Before I have to drive back, right? I got another show on Wednesday night, so didn't have a full day. The only full night I had off was Monday, which is why I went to see Vanessa in London. It was the only night I'd be able to actually stay and hang out and not have to worry about doing a show. So drove down on Tuesday and we stayed up. We had a good time. We stayed up. We had some drinks. We had some convo. It was really nice catching up. And I'm really glad that we did that because if I had gone down on the Wednesday, it would have been less time. It would have been more pressure to sort of see what we're going to see. Because I've never been to Niagara Falls before, and that's all in the same area, right? Niagara on the Lake, St. Catharines, Niagara Falls, all that stuff. So we stayed up late. We stayed up till about 5:30 in the morning. We were having drinks, and the next day we got up, it was probably like 11. We did need some sleep, but we got up, we went for breakfast. Don't remember the name of the place. Like this was all Cam. I was like, dude, you're tour guiding it anywhere you want to go, any order you think, let's do it. I was really excited. And I got there at night, right? It was already dark and everything, so I couldn't see when I was driving in, but the next day in his neighborhood, there's fucking vineyards everywhere. And it's like right up to the road too. I don't know why I thought like vineyards would be like these, like, nice manicured lawns with big, like, I'm thinking of them like they're golf courses. Like you don't necessarily see any of the golf, like the holes or the fairways or anything. You kind of have to drive up to it and everything's surrounded by trees and well manicured lawns. Like I'm thinking these vineyards where it's like blah, blah, blah estates. Well, I'm thinking that they're actually like estates, Now, there's probably a ton of you who've already seen shitloads of vineyards and like, yeah, they'll go right up to the road, right? It's farmland. Why would you not farm more on it? Yeah, great. But it's just my stupid expectations. But I remember we seeing like just how they do it and they crisp. It was really cool to see. It was really, really cool to see. Anyways, we went for breakfast at a diner. And it turned out that either earlier that day or later that day via Instagram, that diner had posted, the Prime Minister was there that day. So we didn't see him when he was there. He was definitely not there when we were there, but it was kind of cool that the same little place in the middle of Ontario, St. Catharines, that same day that the Prime Minister was there having a meal too. So could have crossed paths with, the most important guy. For any Americans who don't know what a Prime Minister is, he's our president. So, and that's also another kind of cool thing about Canada is that your president isn't just going to pop into a small town diner without anyone knowing in the area. You know what I mean? So that was cool. It was cool to, that was a neat thing. Made me feel like, hey, the diner wasn't that bad. It was a good spot. We enjoyed a breakfast, but it was just a standard diner. We went to Niagara on the Lake and we got to see like a bunch of the vineyards and stuff like that. We did not visit any. I'm just saying like we drove past them. We saw where Niagara Falls, where it actually funnels out from the river to Lake Ontario. That was really cool. And that same area, that same sort of beach area that we were at has a gazebo that was featured in The Dead Zone with Christopher Walken. So that the gazebo, I guess there's a scene from The Dead Zone. I didn't see it. But that was kind of cool. Cam pointed that out to me. We drove down all this beautiful small town in incredibly well manicured garden streets. It reminded me a lot of Terrytown, New York, as a matter of fact. But very, very, very nice streets, everything like that. Loved it. And we took Cam basically drove us up along the river, and then we would stop and look at these particularly, I don't want to say iconic. They are iconic, but particularly significant points in the river leading from the falls. So there's this part where there's an elbow, like they call it the whirlpool, I believe it is. And there's like all this, there's a cable car that goes over top of the whirlpool. So you can actually get in the cable car and go across and see, look straight down at the water. Very, very cool to see. And I'm glad we did it in the opposite order. And we kept going up further, till we got to Niagara Falls. Then we parked the car, we walked out, and I got to see like the falls close up. I got to see like the Maid of the Mist and the Hornblower. The two boats that like sort of take you right up close to the falls and let you look at it and see it, whatever. We didn't go on them. Long wait lines and prices. And we were working on borrowed time just because, I had to get back at some point and drive back to Toronto. So, it was great. And I loved the order when he did it, which he did it because he showed me where it kind of ends and connects to Lake Ontario, and then following up the river, seeing the water getting, progressively harsher and harsher, right up to the point where we saw the falls. And he knew a lot of history. He was talking about a barge that crashed, and the barge was still there. So the rescue people, the barge was crashed, before, the falls or whatever. Telling me different stories about people who attempted to go over it. Someone tried to jump it on a jet ski with a parachute, and the chute didn't open, so he was toast. All these different, just a history of the area. It was really cool for a guy who's lived in Canada and not too far from Niagara Falls for 36 years. It was cool to finally see it. So, and I really appreciate it. So I cannot even, I have to share this. Cam and his girl April, they gave me their bed for the night. So when I got there, they're like, yeah, we've got a guest right now. So, the guest room's occupied. So you go, you crash in our bed. I was like, what are you doing? It was too much. I'll be honest. I kept telling them, like, you guys, I can sleep on the couch down here. Please sleep in your bed. They're like, no, please. And I did not want to be a bad guest or not gracious. So I did, but I got to tell you, it was way above and beyond, what I needed. So any podcast listener, it was great because Cam and I met, through Paul Verzi. Cam was a listener of Verzi's podcast. He came to see Paul. Actually, as a matter of fact, that same trip to Toronto, I think that when I talked about Chadwick's, the restaurant that Ephemios and I went to, we probably met Cam the next day or the night before. I think we all went for dinner the night before, and then we did breakfast the next day. So I actually met Cam that trip with Verzi in Toronto. And, when we became friends, and as when I started my podcast, he started listening. So it was really cool. Like, Cam is someone who I did not know, pre-comedy, and it was really cool to go and see them and spend time and hang out. I really look forward to doing it again. And, just the amount of hospitality. So just, I want to put this out there that in case anyone else, a listener, I want you guys to know, I want you onesies to know that you guys are my number ones. Okay. So even the fans of comedy who will come and see me when I'm in town and everything like that, I want you guys to know that you listening, each and every one of you who spend your time with me every week, or I used to say, people who spend an hour with me every week, but sometimes people get a few episodes behind and then they spend, 3 hours in a week, whatever it is. The fact that you guys are listening to my bullshit and that you're still, invested in what I have going on and still want to be a part of my life. And I want to be a part of yours too. So, I appreciate that. And, so if so many disclaimers and whatnot, I'm just trying to say, in the event that we ever get together and I'm a guest, in your home, for the love of God, do not treat me that good. I can't say enough good things about how Cam and April treated me when I was there. It was amazing. Again, that's one of the reasons I waited till later in the episode to talk about it. I didn't want to brush, broad strokes over it. I was very, very grateful, and I can't tell you how much fun I had. It was great. I felt bad that we had to leave. We came back, and then he took me to a place called Pie Guys, which is a pizza spot. Cam posts amazing looking food. Like, he does up his own wings and everything like that. And I honestly, I wish I had 3 days that I could have stayed and hung out. But Cam does his own wings up and pizza and stuff like that. And I see him posting shit on Instagram. He also posts like other places stuff. So I remember a while back, I saw the pie that he had posted. I was like, dude, we got to do that, whatever it is. He's like, yeah, it's a spot. So we managed to fit that into too. And that was sort of the end of the visit that we had together. We went to this place, the Pie Guys, and we had a pepperoni pizza. They got this like cup and char pepperoni, they call it. It's like a spicy pepperoni. When it cooks, it actually folds up like the old school, pepperoni pizza cup kind of pepperoni slice. Whatever, fuck. I just sound like a fat guy going into his food porn, but you feel me. You feel me, dogs. All right. I thoroughly enjoyed that pizza, and we said our goodbyes from that point. So Cam had made the suggestion that we we take the cars together because otherwise we drive there and drive back. And it actually ended up working out perfectly because I hit traffic and an accident on the way back and all this stuff. And I barely made it back in time to shower and get to the show. But had we drove there and then drove back and then I made up the extra time going the opposite way again, I would have been late for the show. So just overall great time. Thank you so much, Cam. Thank you so much, April. You guys were amazing. It was great seeing you. And I do look forward to doing it again. What else? I think just mentioned briefly, I mean, not a whole lot. Like I said, last night I got back. I had a little mini games night with my mom and my friend Jess. I invited a few other people, but it was last minute. And it didn't start till late. As a matter of fact, my mother and Jess had a hard time, coordinating what time they were going to get together or whatever. My mom's picking her up. Jess doesn't drive. So yeah, that was that. Was it an interesting story? Good thing I put that out there, right? I think, I was just excited after 2 weeks of buying board games to actually get an opportunity to sit down and just play some. We got wine drunk in Toronto the last night. So Sunday night, that was the thing. We were, Cam and I in St. Catharines, we were fighting off a little bit of a hangover. Cause we had a reasonable amount to drink, we're not drunks, but fuck it. We didn't see each other. We were having beers and we were having a good goddamn time, good conversation. So we apologize to no one. But on Sunday night, I brought some wine from my collection, here in Ottawa to, Toronto and didn't really get an opportunity to drink any. So I was like, you know what, guys, Red and I had some in London, but didn't have an opportunity to really enjoy like a nice red or something with people. So we did like kind of little wine tasting. I brought 3 bottles to Absolute. When the shows were over and the doors were locked, we had some wine together. Staff, me and E and Andrew Ivemy. Again, sorry, I didn't get a chance to mention Andrew. I did, but I forgot. I didn't mention Andrew Ivemy was the feature all week. Andrew was doing great too. And it was great to see him. Andrew's a great dude. We've worked together many times before. Haven't seen him in a long time. He's doing incredibly well. He's got a whole podcast network with many podcasts and things he's doing. Lots of pots in the stove for him. He's doing great. Great to see him. And Andrew will be in town in the near future. In the next few weeks, he's going to be doing a week in Ottawa. So him and I are going to get together. I hope to record a podcast. Same thing. Me and Ephemios, we lost a lot of time in that lineup waiting for the breakfast table. Not to mention the fact that we actually had a good time at the board game store and spent more time there than we thought we would. So did not get to record a podcast with E, but I hope to in the future. We had a great time. And it was the first time we ever actually like stayed together and worked together. So, we're friends for life now. We had a great time hanging with each other. So yeah, I'll have that done, but we did get wine drunk on Sunday night to the point where we, came back to the condo and, Sean, the manager, and, Lisa, one of the servers came back with us. We were just hanging out, eating some A&W late night, all of us drunk. And then we just watched, comedians in cars basically until people just started leaving. Same with myself too. I passed out. I was like, I'm falling asleep. I gotta go to bed because I had to get up Monday morning and pack my shit and drive home. So yeah, I had a rough time yesterday in the morning, shaking off a hangover, packing up my way too much stuff and driving back to Ottawa. What can I say? The only thing I'm going to talk about one more thing before we get on to the sponsors. This is it took less time than I thought, and I feel like I've said what I wanted to say. I have been watching a lot of stuff on tiny houses. I guess I say watching a lot of stuff. No, I watch Tiny House Nation. I am really stressed out in my life about buying a house and where would I buy a house where I feel like I could stay. But I've seen these tiny houses and places on shows and documentaries and stuff. I saw them in The Minimalists and whatnot. And I think they're starting to build buildings with tinier apartments, right? So they're doing the same idea, but just in a unit form. But there's a thing on Netflix called Tiny House Nation or whatever. I believe that's what it's called. If you type in tiny house or whatever, you'll find it, or something nation, you'll find it. Now it's a reality show. There's like 7 episodes and it's like, customize this home for such and such a person. And I find it fascinating because I feel like a tiny house, because at least the ones in the shows are all built on wheels. So I'm like, I feel like that's the kind of thing I could actually afford one day, and it would be perfect for me because I can move around with me. It's not stupid expensive to buy. So I'm like, I think this tiny house might be a solution for me. So I'm fascinated by them. So I started watching the show. The only issue is that the show is your traditional reality show, or home building reality show, I should say, where there's a lot of fluff in it. And they got to put in a lot of the heartfelt bullshit. Like, we were ready to downsize. I used to work in this and I can't anymore. And then they keep going back to the whole like, I know your turntables mean a lot to you, your record collection, your father. Like, they put in a bunch of shit, whereas I'm like, I just want to see the structure. I want to watch them build it. I want to see like the hiccups. There's a lot of like, you watch the show too and you're like, well, if I get a tiny home, I'm not getting like a powerhouse designer who's going to build like the fucking Pimp My Ride shit into my tiny home. Like, I would want that stuff, but you're not getting that in a standard tiny home. I would just say watch the show, guys. Like, it's really cool how much stuff they fit in there. And I really do like the idea of minimalism and whatnot. So I could see myself buying a tiny home, and having a small little life like that. It's got all the stuff that you need, right? It just doesn't have a bunch, like, I don't need wings. Like I've already said before, like if I had a giant mansion, I think I'd get stressed out trying to find shit to fill it. You know what I mean? So, and that's just a waste of real estate and whatnot. I like this tiny home thing. So, if anyone knows anything about tiny homes, I found a website, but the computer at the condo was garbage. I couldn't get YouTube to work on any of the TVs, like the little media boxes they had, because Jay's fucking cheap and he's got these little shitty RCA boxes. But I couldn't get YouTube to work. Netflix worked fine, but I couldn't get YouTube to work to watch any of this stuff about tiny homes. And then the computer at the condo was not working properly. It's so fucking slow. You can't play anything. Like, you go to hit play on YouTube and the screen's black. You can hear the audio, but it's like, it's not whatever, the video card's not processing. I'd be scrolling on websites and the screen would just go like scrambled because there's something wrong with the video card, clearly. But I was trying to learn about tiny homes and do they make them in Canada and can you buy them? And, how do you get involved in that? Like, if you were interested, what was the first steps? But the computer wouldn't work properly, when I was looking. And I remember my laptop was packed away for some reason. So, I'm interested in it. I'm interested in tiny homes, guys. That's what I'm all about right now. So watch that. If you know anything about tiny homes or anything like that, please email in because I'm fascinated as fuck. But for now, that's a lot of the shit I was doing. I had a great week. I had a great time. I stuck for the most part to the meal thing, whereas like during the first half of the day, I would be using the meal stuff, but I definitely was not, I didn't go through everything because I was not, a lot of days too, I'd wake up really late. And so my 8 a.m. deadline to wake up, that didn't happen. We spent too much time hanging out at night. I had a great time. No regrets, but I did not just go to the gym every day and just eat my meal plan. Too many things going on. Yeah, I had too much fun, basically. I had fun instead of health. But I did like the small meals, and actually I'm going to try to keep them going here at the house because of the fact that I really enjoyed I feel good during the day having just some small little meals. And I was having so much fun. Come on. Give me the fucking Sharpie. I'm just reaching past where the microphone gets me. I was having so much fun that I guess I wasn't eating out of, the fucking insecurity or whatever vice in my brain that would make me eat. Instead I was spending way too much money on board games, and that was making me happy. I know the food's a vice, man. It's not because I'm hungry. It's a fucking vice. I'm getting there, all right, guys? Someday. We're only 2 years in this podcast, all right? It's going to take me like 10 years to turn my life around. Anyways, having said that, week is over. I can't wait for the next week to happen. I'm smiling at life right now, so I'm feeling good. And that brings me to my partners. I like how I'm like, I love my life. It's feeling good. And then the toilet flushes like, it's going down the drain. My partners at portablepress.com, guys. This week I'm reading from Uncle John's slightly irregular bathroom reader, just like me. And I just, out of the blue, I saw this article. I'm like, you know what? I got to read this. It just looks too funny to me. I'm going to turn the light on though. So not prepared to be a podcaster. Guys, this week I'm reading Jackie Chan's greatest hits. He's one of the greatest action stars of all time, and what's most amazing is that fuck these teeth, man. A lot of the stuttering guys, I'm telling you, is just I can't get my fucking. I'm blaming the liners. It really is them. I can't get my fucking tongue to stick to my fucking. It slips off some stuttering and shit. Anyways, it sounds. Fuck. He's one of the greatest action stars of all time, and what's most amazing is that he does his own stunts. So how does he do all that fighting and performing? All those So how does he do all that fighting and perform all those daredevil feats without getting injured? ? He doesn't. He's been injured dozens of times. Here's a sample of what you almost never see. Body part, head. The movie, Armor of God, 1987. The stunt, Jumping from a castle wall to a tree, Chan missed the branch and fell headfirst. Oh, Jesus. And fell headfirst onto the rocky ground below. Result, a broken skull and a brain hemorrhage. Jesus. With blood pouring from his ears, Chan was rushed to the nearest hospital for emergency brain surgery. He now has a permanent hole in his skull filled with a plastic plug. The same fall shattered his jaw, knocked out some teeth, and broke his nose. Jesus Christ. Now he just keeps doing more movies because he's ridiculous. 1978 in a movie. That's how fucking old this guy is. Body part arm. The movie Snake and Eagle Shadow, 1978. The stunt. In a sword fight scene, his opponent's sword was supposed to be blunt, but it wasn't. Chan's arm was slashed and blood went everywhere. He screamed in pain, looked up at his opponent in surprise, and kept right on fighting. Yeah, that Japanese like, right on fighting. The camera kept rolling in the scene, and the real blood appeared in the final cut of the film. Jesus. Body part neck. The movie Mr. Nice Guy, 1997. The stunt. A stunt called for Chan to be pushed backwards into a wheelbarrow on the second floor of a construction site, then fall out of the wheelbarrow to the ground 2 stories below, where he would land on mats that were out of camera range. Chan missed the mats. He jumped up to let everyone know that he was okay, then immediately passed out. X-rays revealed torn ligaments and dislocated vertebrae in his neck. He broke his nose filming another scene. Jesus Christ. Body part, nose. The movie First Strike, 1996. The stunt, you'd think this would have happened during one of the film's snowboarding stunts, considering Chan did them with only 4 days of snowboarding training. But it was actually in a scene where he jumped through an extension ladder. He got tangled in the rungs and couldn't escape before it crashed to the ground, breaking his nose and knocking him unconscious. Jesus Christ. Sorry, I'm not adding this horror for effect. It's just crazy to me that you do that. Body part, shoulder. The movie Super Cop, 1992. I remember there's a line in that movie in Super Cop, and it's just shitty dubbing, but it's like Super Cop, and then the movie's like, oh my God, we have a crime to solve. We can't do this. We need a super cop. My brother's a super cop. That's the guy's like, my brother's a super cop. It was fucking hilarious. The stunt, one of his most dangerous stunts ever. Chan had to jump from a building and catch a rope ladder that was hanging from a passing helicopter, with no airbags or cushions below him to break the possible 100-foot fall. Did he fall? No. But the rope ladder crashed through several buildings, breaking Chan's shoulder. What? Jesus Christ. Body part, ankle. The movie Rumble in the Bronx, 1994. The stunt. Chan jumped from a bridge onto the deck of a hovercraft. Jesus. Turning his body as he landed to avoid hitting the wall. But his ankle didn't turn with him. Jesus. It stayed planted on the craft's non-slip deck, breaking in 2 places. Chan's doctor set the bone and told him to stay off of it, but Chan put a sock over the cast, painted to look like a sneaker, and finished the movie. Yeah, I saw that. It's like this giant rubber fucking thing, like rubber sock thing they put over the cast. It literally looked like he just had a pair of jeans and a shoe. It was fucking awesome. The work ethic. And probably by that point he had so many goddamn brain injuries that he's knocked himself out so many times. Body parts, hands, pelvis, back. The movie Police Story, 1985. Stunt. Chan leaped 10 feet from a narrow handrail, 70 feet above the ground, to a nearby pole, slid down the pole, then crashed through a glass ceiling and fell to the ground on his back. The slide peeled the skin off his hand. Jesus Christ. The slide peeled the skin off his hands. He was treated for second-degree burns. And then the fall dislocated his pelvis and pushed several of his lower vertebrae into the surrounding organs, causing internal bleeding. Oh, Jesus Christ. When he managed to stand up, blood gushed from his mouth. Chan later told reporters that this was the only time in his career when he actually thought he might not survive a stunt. A few hours later, he was back on the set. Jesus Christ. Ugh. So, the running feet at the bottom. The combined area of the entire United Kingdom is smaller than the state of Oregon. And then on the next page, modern bowling comes from the German game of Heiderwerfen, which translates to strike down the heathens. There you go. And that, my friends, is my partners at portablepress.com. Uncle John's Bathroom Doors. All sorts of different articles, all sorts of different varieties. Get your copy at portablepress.com. Next, we have my partners at Absolute Comedy. Do I need to say more about them? I was there for 2 weeks. If you happen to be in Toronto area, check out my buddy Efthymios Nasiopoulos. He will be headlining this week. He was hosting last week, headlining this week. Exactly the same thing that I was doing. But great shows in every city, Ottawa, Toronto, and Kingston. Check out absolutecomedy.ca for more info.
Absolute Comedy is the best live stand-up comedy from across North America, with locations in Kingston, Toronto, and Ottawa, Ontario. These comedians have been featured on Just for Laughs, Netflix, Comedy Central, CBC's The Debaters, Jimmy Kimmel Live, Conan, The Comedy Network, and much, much more. Go to absolutecomedy.ca to see this week's lineup. Planning a night out is easy with dinner and show packages available at all locations. Live comedy is a great choice if you're organizing a celebration, fundraiser, company outing, or corporate event. Want the show brought to you? They'll send comedians to your venue with performances tailored to your event, creating a night of laughs your guests will love and won't soon forget. So for showtimes, ticket prices, gift certificates, special shows, and more, head to absolutecomedy.ca. Again, that's absolutecomedy.ca for the best live stand-up comedy from across North America.
And we're back. Did I forget anybody? Did I forget anybody? Did I? My partners at DK, Dorling Kindersley, DK Books, guys. I love DK. And of course, I didn't have a chance to finish this book. I didn't have a chance to start this book. Last episode, I wanted to have it ready for you guys. But graphic design for everyone. Understand the building blocks so you can do it yourself. Okay? And what's your message? Who's your audience? How can you reach them? This highly practical design book takes you through the building blocks of design, type, photography, illustration, and color, and shows you how to use these tools to inspire, influence, and enthrall. Grasp the key principles of great design through in-depth how-to articles, hands-on workshops, and inspirational galleries. Then apply your knowledge to do it yourself with practical projects to suit your message and your media. If you're ready to define your brand, connect with your audience and use influential designs to take your small business, nonprofit, or pet project to the next level. Look no further than graphic design for everyone. So I have for years done my own graphic design on my computer. I use Photoshop. I make my own posters. I make my own logos, everything like that. Well, I have over the course of the years made friends with graphic design people who, when I show them something, they mean well, but holy shit, did they ever shit on your stuff? You know, and I've had you guys be like, oh, that's really nice. I really like that. Well, I've had a lot of people go, it's really nice. Well, apparently if you know graphic design, there's a ton of stuff you need to know that, it's not as easy as it looks. All the best designs and whatnot take something. There are color scales. There are typeface. There's rules. Basically, that's how I summarize it. There's a lot of rules to making things. And the less is more definitely applies to graphic design. So what type of face you use, what colors you use, how much writing, how many different fonts you use, groupings, all these different things are all in here. That's too specific for the area. This thing shows color wheels and stuff like that. So if you're going to use colors, match it with these types of colors. They do things like layouts and whatnot. But overall, the One Man Podcast and Josh Williams logos, the new ones, I actually got my friend Tara, who is a professional designer, to do them for me. Because she was explaining to me different rules and stuff like that. And the whole idea is like, I remember I loved my old logos and things like that I did myself, but there was a lot going on in them. There really is a less is more thing. And there's all these rules, like when you're putting out a promo, what's the point of the promo? So you guys, if you're following on Instagram, and I wish you would if you're not, but for those of you following on Instagram, I have every week an episode thing that posts that just says episode blah, 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 now available. I used to have the logo in that. I used to have like the email address and website address and all these things on it. And Tara's like, so I'm looking at this and she's like, what are you trying to say with that? Like, what are you trying to say? What's that post for? I'm like, well, I'm trying to let everyone know that there's a new episode. She's like, okay, well then that's the post. Episode this, now available. That's it. And I go, well, can I post where it's available at the bottom? She's like, sure, but smaller and lots of space. The message is clear. I'm like, well, why don't I put the One Man Podcast? She's like, because One Man Podcast is right above it so they see who's posting it. You don't need that on the actual image itself. It's just too much. So if you guys look back through the One Man Podcast posts, you'll see the old post where it was way too much shit and then what it got simplified to afterwards. She's like, the biggest piece of information should be episode blah, blah, blah available now. That's what that post is about. So not trying to have you peek too far behind the curtain, but in terms of describing what the importance of this graphic design book is it lets you know things. Like I had a hilarious Bastards poster that I did a long time ago, and my friend Kyle Brownrigg was like, it just hurts my eyes. It's not. And I'm like, well, what's wrong with it? He's like, it looks fine, but just anyone who knows graphic design is just like, ugh. I'm like, well, thanks. That's not really helping me. All it's doing is making me insecure and self-conscious about the shit that I've done. I have no training, but I enjoy doing things that are creative. And I've just learned lessons from my designer friends who've told me little things and helped me out with little things along the way, that there is a lot to it. And when they explain things to me, there's less is more. So, that's why the One Man Podcast logo, so simple, and it works with the head is the J from Josh Williams. It's, some of you who may not have ever recognized that. Some of you who are not following my comedy, right, and just One Man Podcast, that's a J. His head is a J, and it's supposed to look like an old time microphone, like those old sort of, ones that the singers, the silver ones on top of the stands, the rounded mics. The W, and a lot of people didn't see this right away. We actually had 4 lines on the original logo, but it looks better with 3 because it looks like a sideways W. So you got a JW right in that small little logo. And giving you guys some ideas about just the logo stuff for graphic design and whatnot is that the biggest logos in the entire world, a lot of people try to make something super intricate for their business. The biggest logos in the world are the simplest. Okay? Nike, McDonald's, Apple. Those ones, there's not much to them, but you look at them, you know exactly who that is. And Tara had explained to me one time that it's like you should be able to take a logo and shrink it down to the size of a pin. Not like a sewing needle, but like a pin, a tiny little dime-shaped lapel pin, and still have that logo clear on there. If your logos can't be fit on there, A, manufactured, or B, comprehended that small, it's too big. Now there's some logos, the typeface is not the logo. So One Man Podcast, that's everything. That's not the whole logo with the wording. The logo is the dude with that head. That's the logo. And of course, his head is that to remind you that one man is Josh Williams. So my logo for Josh Williams Comedy is just that JW. That's it. So it's the kind of thing that's small. Your brain erases a ton of information every day. And if it's too much to know, you're going to forget it. So the Starbucks logo is a great logo. Everyone knows what the Starbucks logo is with the mermaid and the green circle. But here's something that Starbucks has done is, it's so much so that if I was to hand you a cup with just a plain, flat, full green circle, your brain is going to think Starbucks, because that white cup with the green circle on it is just, for so long, your brain can't help but think, oh, Starbucks, it's a Starbucks cup, because you're used to that. But it's the simplicity of it. It's just that kind of stuff. Rather than putting a bunch of shit on it in our website, blah, 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 shit your brain won't remember. Just green circle, white cup, Starbucks. To the point where there's games and movies and things like that where people will do that shit. And it's not copyright infringement because it's not the Starbucks logo, but you think Starbucks. Doing that makes you think a premium coffee company or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So that's not me talking too much about this book per se, because to try to explain the in-depth stuff that it teaches, I'd be doing a disservice to other sections. So what I'm trying to explain to you guys is that if you want to know if I'm making sense with what I'm saying, and you want to, you've been doing your own sort of designs and stuff, and you're like, oh, gee, I feel like I too am guilty of putting too much stuff on. It's like, example I do with Jason. Jason puts way too much information on signs and posters and things like that. So way too much information. The biggest message with a graphic design should be like, what's the message that you want this to convey? That should be the biggest. And then slowly go down from there. Don't put too much shit on. You don't have to put what days of the week and all sorts of other stuff. You just put like the website on, because if somebody wants to know more, they'll go to the website. Some things like that. So certain things should be on there, but I'm just saying that, like, the idea is that when you're communicating something, there's other ways to find it. My business cards now, I used to actually have on my old business card, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, I'd have them all the full URLs written out so people could go to them, trying to be like, well, here's the exact information. But the truth is, all you need to do is, if they're looking for you, they can go to the website and search for you. That's what WebSue was, me eliminating 27 characters of that sentence and just smashing it together. You know, so if they want to find Josh Williams Comedy, well, go to YouTube and they'll type in Josh Williams Comedy. Okay. You don't have to put that on your business card and busy it up and have their brains erase that information. So my business card now, very simple. It has my website, it has my email address, and it has 4 social media logos, just to let you know that I'm on those social media platforms. If you want to find me, you just type in Josh Williams Comedy, like it says right there on the business card. So less is more. The business card's very, very sharp now because there's not a lot going on in them, but less is more. So, shit like that, guys. Graphic design for everyone. Understand the building blocks so you can do it yourself. Great book. Probably, I gotta say, really high up there in my favorite DK books that I've read. They're all DK books are amazing, but what this teaches you, you know, it's going to save you a lot of money in graphic design schooling. It's not going to make you an expert, but it's going to get you pretty damn close to professional. So if not enough to make you professional. So DK.com, graphic design for everyone. Yeah, DK.com/CANCanada.com in the States. Just search DK Books. My partners are Dorling Kindersley. Another fucking knockout for them. Graphic design for everyone. Said it a few times. Guys, this week coming up, I am building my nerd boxes, sleeving my nerd games. Man, am I ever going to have fun being a nerdy ass motherfucker. I'm going to be hanging out with Brody tomorrow, I believe is the plan. And then I spend this weekend doing some more PlayStation VR stuff. So looking forward to that. I got a busy week ahead of me. I'm happy to be home. Nothing on the comedy calendar this week, but you know what? I've done a lot of comedy in the last 2 weeks. I'm okay to have a couple of days off. Still working hard. I'm doing a beer promo, I think, this weekend or next weekend too. I got a lot of stuff coming up. So looking forward to it. I hope you guys have a great week. Of course, as always, you can send me an email at contact@onemanpodcast.com. Follow me on the socials. Like it says at the intro, at the beginning of this. You guys are the best. I love hearing from you. Oh shit. What am I doing? What am I fucking doing? I have emails this week. Oh shit. I got I'm so used to you guys not communicating with me that, I'm blaming you for it. No, I'm just used to you guys, us not talking. Where's my fucking One Man Podcast email address? Is it not even on here? That's weird. Sorry, I'm on my iPad here, and I've never even added my One Man Podcast. Oh, duh. Don't have the Wi-Fi on. So let's see. It seemed a little weird that I was missing a mailbox here. But yeah, no One Man Podcast on my iPad. That means I have not added that. Okay, well, looks like I gotta go to the computer then. So it looks like the same amount of email addresses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, there's only 5. Okay. Well, maybe I can pull this up from the computer here. Maybe let me do that. Oh, look at me taking forever. I'm the fucking worst. Come on, where's the one from the computer? Send it on over. Ugh. Sorry, gang. All right, let's see if I can move this thing a little closer so I can just read right off the computer. All right. So, first email coming from listener James. I'm so sorry. It almost looked like it was over. And then back to this. So, hey, buddy, it's James Sarsfield, longtime listener, first-time writer. Good to hear Vanessa has been doing well, and pat on the back to her husband, apparently. And he's talking to me. LOL, self-love is important, but you might want to take it easy. Maybe some lube. Yeah, because I broke my dick. Apparently it. And he shares something here. I'm just not sure I can share. So not that I'm leaving it out, and I'm addressing that I'm leaving something out. But I just don't know if the other party mentioned in this would want to be mentioned. Anyways, man, keep the episodes coming. Excited to hear the new show you got coming. I'm excited to have more on it. I have not worked a lot on it. I've been too busy. I hope to come to Absolute when you are there next. Cheers, buddy. James, thanks for writing in, pal. And I'm sorry that I left the stuff out. I just want to make sure, all parties involved would want that shit. And I think you even addressed it, so I'm not sure that you even wanted me to read up necessarily what you had put, but I'm just glad you're reaching out, buddy. It's great to know that you're listening, and I hope you're enjoying the episodes. Yeah. Have that, what was I going to say? Keep writing in, man. I want to know what's going on with you, and if you want to come to a show, by all means, let me know. Thank you for the email. Vanessa has sent me another one, so here's what Red has. I don't know why I moved back. I moved back like I didn't have 2 emails to read. So Red, my co-host from last week, says, okay, so this is for the United States, but we can safely assume guidelines in Canada are just as if guidelines in Canada are just as, if not more strict. Sorry, there's some punctuation mission there. I can't take whatever. Oh, but Red also added this. She goes, also, insulin was invented by a Londoner. His name was Frederick G. Banting. In 1921, Dr. Frederick G. Banting became the first individual to isolate the secretions from the islet cells, and tout them as a potential treatment for diabetes. So Red was trying to figure that out last week, and she fucking sucked at research at the time. But my guess is she did not let this go. She wanted to find it. So this is me drinking water bottles. Her and I were complaining. So Red has sent me this article regarding tap water, I believe. So again, she said it's from the US, but she would assume that the guidelines in Canada are just as strict, if not more. So here's something I'll be reading. It's called The Truth About Tap, the link she sent me. Lots of people think drinking bottled water is safer. Is it? Fuck, how long is this? Oh, it's not that long. Okay. This also looks like clickbait, Red. At the bottom, there's all these extra fucking things. So I hope this is from a reputable thing. The NRDC, which stands for, I don't know, it won't tell me. The Truth About Tap. Few questions confound health-conscious conservationists. Jesus Christ. Guys, can you send me more things with S's, please? You've only got 2 months before these Invisaligns are done. And then I can fucking talk like a regular person again. But right now, everything with S's and things like that, my tongue and my teeth slip apart because of the stupid plastic. Few questions confound health-conscious conservationists more than the first one a waiter might ask at a nice restaurant, bottled or tap. I've never been asked that. It's always, would you like water? And it's always tap. We know which is better for the environment. That's easy. Not only are millions of tons of plastic bottles clogging our landfills, but it takes 1.63 liters of water to make every liter of Dasani, and the company is doing it in a drought-plagued California. But despite those harsh realities, public concerns about tap water quality and, let's face it, slick marketing have caused bottled water sales to soar over the past couple of decades. Ads and labels drive home the perception of purity with images of pristine glaciers and crystal clear mountain springs. We now have luxury water bars and premium bottled water. Some people are spending 10,000 times more per gallon for bottled water than they typically are for tap. Is it worth the cost? 10,000 times, yeah, your water bill versus bottled water. Is it worth the cost to you and the environment? How is water regulated? It's regulated by different agencies with different missions. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency oversees the quality of water that comes out of your tap. With the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, U.S. FDA, is responsible for ensuring the safety and truthful labeling of bottled water sold nationally. States are responsible for regulating water that is both packaged and sold within its borders, which is most of the bottled water market, but 1 in 5 states doesn't even bother. It's important to note that the federal government does not require bottled water to be safer than tap. In fact, just the opposite is true in many cases. Tap water in most big cities must be disinfected, filtered to remove pathogens, and tested for Cryptosporidium and Giardia virus, for fuck's sakes. Giardia virus. There's too many whatever. A fucking virus. Just say Cryptosporidium and viruses. Bottled water does not have to be. Both kinds of water are tested regularly for bacteria and most synthetic organic chemicals, but city tap is typically assessed much more frequently. For example, bottled water plants must test for coliform bacteria just once a week. City taps need to be tested 100 or more times a month. Limits on chemical pollution for both categories are almost identical. The one place where bottled water might have the edge is in the case of lead, because many older homes have lead pipes. The EPA standard for tap water is less strict, 1/3 of the FDA's standard for lead in bottled water. Okay, but which type of water is actually safer? In 1999, after a 4-year, 1999, okay, that's 20 years ago, after a 4-year review of the bottled water industry and its safer standards, NRDC concluded that there is no assurance that bottled water is cleaner or safer than tap. In fact, an estimated 25% or more of bottled water is really just tap water in a bottle, sometimes further treated, sometimes not. Of the 1,000 bottles tested, the majority proved to be relatively clean and pure. About 22% of the brands tested contained chemicals at levels above state health limits in at least one sample. If consumed over a long period of time, some of those contaminants could cause cancer or other health problems for people with weakened immune systems. It's funny, I'm actually drinking a bottle of water while I do this podcast. Here, let's do some more ASMR or whatever. I don't know why it just tastes bad now. I have plastic in my mouth all the time from these aligners. Though it's mostly safe, tap might at times also present issues, especially if you live in a rural community with a higher likelihood of pesticide runoff contamination, or if you get water from a private, unregulated well or live in an older home. I think tap water, I mean, anyone listening to this should consider tap water the shit that's coming from the city. If your tap water is coming from your own private stock, well, obviously it's not being fucking tested. Under right to know provisions in the drinking water law, all tap suppliers must provide annual quality reports to their consumers. You can also test your water yourself. Standard consumer test packages are available through large commercial labs at a relatively reasonable price. Call your state drinking water program or the EPA Safe Drinking Water Hotline. There's a number here. You can Google it for a list of contacts. Your water report will point, now this is also US, right? Keep in mind. Your water report will point out possible risks to health. Fortunately, a home filter designed explicitly to strip contaminants will resolve most cases. If you want to take extra precautions, you should purchase filters certified by NSF International, blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, they trying to sell you something here? These models are designated to filter out specific contaminants so you can select one based on your needs. If I still want or need to buy bottled water, how do I know what I'm buying? Even though both the federal government and most states have bottled water safety programs, regulations don't adequately assure consumers of either purity or safety. A few state bottled water programs, for example, those in Massachusetts or New York, maintain lists of the sources, but not all do. Carefully check the label and even the cap. If it says from a municipal source or from a community water system, this means it's derived from tap. If you don't find any information on the bottle, you can call the bottle or bottled water program in your state or the state where it is packaged and ask about the source. Could the actual bottle pose a health risk? Recent research suggests that it might be cause for concern. Chemicals called PHTHA phthalates, which are known to distribute testosterone and other hormones, can leach into bottled water over time. One study found the water that has been stored for 10 weeks in plastic and in glass bottles contains phthalates, suggesting that the chemicals could be coming from the plastic cap or liner. Although there are regulatory standards limiting phthalates in tap, there are no legal limits in bottled water. The bottled water industry waged a successful campaign opposing the FDA proposal to set a legal limit for these chemicals. That's the whole article. So does anybody here, Red, I'm a little disappointed in you. Does anyone feel like this actually said anything that we don't already know? Yeah. Bottled water has some regulations, tap water has other. Which one's safer? Well, some of them still have this and the other ones have that. So you didn't answer my question? And here's the thing. If you want to know, you can buy it and test yourself and then choose what you want to remove. Okay, but what's what? You didn't tell me what's what and what it does and whatever. What a waste of a fucking... Yeah, well, I'm sorry, guys. I wasted 15 minutes of your life with that. Red, you should be goddamn ashamed of yourself. Next time you get me a goddamn water bottle doctor on here. I get what you're saying. There's tests that are done in the water, but testing it and being like, actually, we don't have this and the bottled water has that. It's like, it sounds like there's shit in the regular water supply you can get too. Everything's going to kill you, man. Eat kale and you're going to get a hypothyroidism, you can't fucking win. Everything's going to kill you. And on that note, guys, go out and live your lives. I can't wait to talk to you again next week. I hope you're having a great, like I said, I hope you're having a great week. I hope that this podcast maybe made you laugh or was at least mildly interesting. Yeah. And, I'm going to go do some fun stuff this weekend, and I will tell you all about it next week, guys. Take care until then.